strange sudden movements and loud noises. The children seem to be more of a guardianship and property rather than actual individuals that need loving, need looking after, needed food. The incidences that we had, obviously I ran social services because it just got to the stage we were so concerned about the children and we couldn't believe what was happening, but we just kept reporting and nothing was being done. And we were saying that something's going to happen to these children, how can we leave them in these conditions? Because the house was filthy, it stank, it really just, I didn't want to pet victim there, let alone children.
Eventually the pressure became too much. Claire couldn't stand it anymore and moved her family away from the area.
But police believe in the backyards and green spaces at Dewsbury Moor there could be a clue to the disappearance of the 9-year-old schoolgirl.
I'd say warning signs. I knew what sort of person Karen was, and I knew what conditions the children were living in before. I knew all this, and no one had listened. It was just a waiting game all the time, wondering what was going to happen next.
So were Karen, and more importantly her children, getting the support they so obviously needed?
Social services were aware of Karen Matthews' chaotic lifestyle, well aware, in fact. Ever since the birth of her first child in 1996, there were reports that she was a bad parent who neglected her family.
When Karen lived at Burnsall Road, social services were told of concerns that echoed those of Claire showed signs of neglect, and Shannon and a sibling were on the register. Neighbours said they arrived at Karen's house, found it dirty, full of rubbish, and sometimes without electricity. There were also reports that children were being left alone at night, they weren't attending school, and there was a problem of alcohol and drug abuse in the home. One of the children was briefly put in the care of a foster family.
He's got Shannon and a family in his hands. He's got Shannon and a family in his hands. He's got Shannon and a family in his hands.
But none of this proved Karen was anything other than a poor mother.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got everybody here. He's got
In Dewsbury, the search for Shannon continued. This CCTV showed Shannon on a class trip to the swimming baths on the afternoon she disappeared. It was the last solid evidence the police had.
We had no witnesses to suggest that Shannon had been placed in the car. We had no witnesses saying that Shannon had been taken to this particular house. We had no idea where or how Shannon had been taken on that particular afternoon. Clearly we see the school here where Shannon goes to, and this is the road where the coach drops Shannon while the other children off after a swimming lesson. And we call this the Red Route. This is where the road where Karen Matthews and Craig Meehan lives. These are the likely routes that Shannon would have taken on the way home. Each one of those houses was searched with body dogs, search teams and detectives to satisfy ourselves that Shannon wasn't in there.
As far as we were concerned, this unknown person had come down to our children's school, took a child, put him in his car and drove off. And it's like we said, it could have been anybody's, it didn't have to be Shannon, it could have been anybody's at that time, which is what we're going to realize, it could have been one of ours. In my mind, it could have been my daughter. She was walking home with her, or supposed to have been.
The family liaison officers became a familiar sight on the estate. Outwardly sympathetic, they were playing a key role in the investigation.
The thing that sticks in my mind is she couldn't even be consistent about where she was when she reported Shannon missing. When you've got those lies, you can only lie for so long before you start forgetting what you've said in the first place. I think that's what certainly happened in relation to Karen Matthews.
There was a constant stream, we couldn't have a conversation. In fact, I think at several points we to get fairly rude and say, would you mind? We used to ask them to clear the house except for Karen and Craig. We just look at that Easter egg for Shannon and it sort of takes you back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, people buying Easter eggs and sending presents for Shannon and it just reminds you of everybody's kindness. Shannon's bedroom. And all those gifts on the bed. I mean, there were a lot of people always just sending those. I know there were those that she got that day at Asda at your prompting.
It's alright, Mark. It's only me smoking a joint.
Others were sending money to start a fund for Shannon.
Shut up, will you?
Pockets offered Karen.
It's okay.
She and Craig were criticised for filling one trolley with food and the other with beer. The scramble for exclusive stories about the family led to cash incentives around the estate. A local businessman had already offered a £5,000 reward. The fund quickly topped £50,000, and Karen was offered her own magazine and newspaper deals. And then she added a new detail to her appeals in the media.
I mean, do you believe the answer lies locally, that somebody knows something? What do you feel?
Well, I think there's somebody out there who knows Shannon, who's supposed to probably know me as well. And I just want her home safe, really.
Was this Karen, in her own muddled way, trying to do the right thing, with her neighbours, the whole town of Dewsbury, in fact the whole country, now worried about the welfare of Shannon? Was Karen simply trying to bring the whole charade to an end?
Tell you what, she
In fact,
couldn't
it
play
did
the
come to an end,
well,
but
well
not because
with
of
her
anything Karen did. 23 days after Shannon was first reported missing, the police were suddenly handed a name. And it was somebody close to Karen. That name was Michael Donovan, and he was directly related to Karen's boyfriend, Craig. A search of the family tree identified his real name as Paul Drake. He was one of 9 children, and one of his sisters was Craig's mum, Alice Meehan. What's more, he lived remarkably close to Karen, just over a mile away in Batley Car.
It wasn't his name. It was the information which another family member had given us, an extended family member had given us on the Thursday evening, that he'd not been in contact with other family members over the previous couple of weeks. Now, some of those other family members had never mentioned this to us, so that was quite disturbing for us, and we needed to do a little bit of research into that individual, and we made a decision on Friday morning that he would be our priority.
By now, the investigation team had taken over 1,000 statements, searched over 1,700 houses, and interviewed nearly 200 people. They discovered that Donovan had abducted his own daughter from school 15 months previously, when she was in the care of foster parents.
I think it's no secret that certainly amongst the detectives on the investigation, I don't think that anybody felt that we were ever going to find Shannon Matthews alive.
I would agree with that, absolutely. Absolutely. It's fair to say, though, we got a little bit excited.
What's the thing about Shannon Matthews? I'm warm like a...
A good hard rap and a policeman's knock, as they say. So much so that that lady next door, number 24, who came out to see what we were doing. During which she said, well, we can't understand why we've heard a toddler's footsteps. And those were the words she used, a toddler's footsteps. Well, when was the last time you heard these footsteps? And she said, this morning. So we've even heard the footsteps when he's been out of the house. And we decided that that moment we needed to get inside that flat.
Okay, so we're now inside 26 Lingate Gardens. Nick was covering the other side of the house, so I was happy that I didn't have to worry about anything in relation to the other door. So I went quietly upstairs. When we gained the landing, we found a further door that was locked. Put this door through. It was deathly quiet, not a noise at all. I got it wrong. I thought, okay, good try. And then I heard Shannon's voice from within this bedroom. Clearly heard her say, "Stop it, you frighten me now." And the bed was situated here. And although I knew I'd heard her, I didn't know where she was. And then I became aware of movement within the bed. And as I went across to the far side of the bed, Shannon's head appeared on that side, reached over, picked Shannon up, and carried her out. I couldn't believe that I found her. And we had Shannon and she was alive. I just couldn't believe it.
Then as I got to the top of the stairs, I was passed by PK with Shannon Matthews in his arms. A moment of absolute astonishment, as far as I was concerned. I think PK just managed to mumble to me, "I've got her, I've got her."
Sat her in the car, checked that she was okay, she looked perfectly fine. And I asked her where Mike was. I said, where's Mike? She says, he was where I was. I said, in the house? She said, under the bed.
One of the uniform lads who was still searching the bedroom behind us sort of squealed, if you like, cried out, "He's here."
I can't begin to explain it. It was fantastic. Can you imagine? Finding a little girl who all the detectives believed was dead. And there she was, alive. Can't buy moments like that. There we are.
Shannon was taken straight to Dewsbury Police Station. Michael Donovan to the cells at Halifax. Then, as Donovan was put in, another revelation.
Yes, you want to arrest Karen.
Michael, when you were arrested in the back of the van, you made some comments to me after you were cautioned. Alright, I'm going to say those things to you now, in front of all the officers here and also the camera. I want you just to agree with if you said this or not, okay? This is at 13:34 today. Alright? You said, get Karen down here, we've got a plan. We'll share the money, £50,000.
Unaware of the drama unfolding behind the scenes, residents of Dewsbury Moor took to the streets to celebrate. Karen didn't seem to share their mood of jubilation. At first, anyway. Perhaps she was afraid of what might be happening at the police station.
She said I was to keep Shannon and look after her, and she, Karen, would report her missing. I said, what do I do then? She said, you'll take her back to your place and keep her there until I phone you. I said I wasn't happy about this, and she then threatened, if I didn't do it, to get 3 lads onto them.
Michael Donovan's 3-page statement was read to detectives by his solicitor.
And I was frightened that if I didn't do it, they would come after me. I said, okay, I'll do it. And she said there was money for me in it. I said I didn't want the money. She told me just to do what she said. She said if I told anyone, or I went to anyone, I would be dead.
We knew that when Shannon was rescued from Donovan's flat, that Donovan had actually had to go to the police officer, so physically he was more than capable of looking after himself. But suddenly when he arrives at the police station, he ended up with Donovan, who suddenly is saying that he can't walk, he can't write, he can't stand up.
You can't walk. You can't use your hands, okay?
And even throughout the interviews, he tried to demonstrate that he's a sympathetic individual, which he did remarkably well. But he didn't tell us, Phil, at any stage of the inquiry.
The discovery of Shannon Matthews is still a complicated picture, but not here. Right now, it's black and white, a celebration that she's still alive.
As the police continued to interview Donovan, the euphoria on Dewsbury Moor at Shannon's safe return soon died down. The young girl they'd been desperate to find didn't come home. Why? 4 days after Donovan's arrest, they had their answer. Karen herself was taken in for questioning.
Listen, I know you're upset, and we need to be able to establish exactly what's going on. And you are aware that Michael is in part, holding you partly responsible. So the best thing we can do, so that we're all clear about it, is tell you what Michael's saying.
And his wife doesn't tell you, oh, he didn't tell her, didn't go away and lived out. Didn't speak to about everything about abduction and all.
Watching the thing about Shannon Matthews.
Just a normal day through the French school, go for school, that was it.
Yeah, the police knew she was lying to them because the police family liaison officer.
In the family tree put up by the police, the hundreds of names to the left are all linked to Karen. Donovan sits over to the far right. He used to work as a delivery driver, but has claimed disability benefits since an accident 9 years ago. His former wife described Donovan as aggressive and violent, often attacking her and twice trying to kill her, blaming his addiction to strong prescription painkillers. Their 2 daughters ended up being taken into care. So with a profile like that, were police too slow to identify him as a suspect? She was missing for 24 days.
Yep.
She turns up at the home of someone we can describe as an uncle. Why was he not on your radar?
Donovan was the uncle of Craig Meehan. So Donovan was the uncle of the man who just happened to be staying over with Karen at that time. So this wasn't a close...
Oh, fuck off!
Painstaking operation. It was textbook in terms of following the patterns that we know from the analysis that's been done of child abduction.
My bad.
The wonderful thing about this case is that...
I bet you I'll get a hat trick today. What?
So we're characterising the lives that
Oh,
are
shame.
They're on benefit. That's the key feature.
It's a key feature, and there are some perverse welfare issues here. The more kids you have, the more welfare you get, the less opportunity there is to contribute to society and to the economy, and the less you need to.
And there's also a lack of a sense of right and wrong, and what's legal and what's illegal.
Yeah, yeah.
You're dealing with that the whole time?
Whatever goes, yeah. Whatever, in a sense, whatever you can get away with, and there are always people out there that are prepared to justify it and to give reasons why they're to be pitied rather than blamed, and it's whatever they can grab.
At Donovan's flat, the investigative team carried out a detailed forensic search and uncovered a wealth of evidence. This is the 3D reconstruction put together by detectives to demonstrate what they discovered. In the roof over the centre of the flat, they found an elasticated leash hanging from a beam, though there's no evidence it was ever used. On the floor in the kitchen was a single tablet. And in the cupboards was a box of travel sickness pills and prescription drugs. Out of Shannon's reach was a newspaper offering up the £50,000 reward for her safe return. Donovan had left a list of rules telling Shannon to keep quiet and stay away from the windows. IPU stood for I promise you. Finally, there was the bed, converted by Donovan into a hiding place for him and Shannon to lay low. This is the bed in which Shannon Matthews was kept when Donovan feared discovery. An effective but almost a childishly primitive hiding place.
were you trying to conceal Shannon from the police?
Mm.
And why did you choose that particular hiding place?
Mm.
Have you hidden there before? Have you modified that bed in any way to make it easier to hide in? And while you were concealed in the divan bed with Shannon, what measures did you take to keep Shannon quiet?
Donovan was charged with kidnap, but Shannon wasn't going home. Karen had to confirm Shannon's identity through a two-way mirror.
We brought Karen down to the police station, and through a one-way screen, she was allowed to confirm that it was Shannon that had been rescued. And when a formal meeting did take place later on, a couple of days' time, we decided that process would be video interviewed, and it would be witnessed to make sure that nothing untoward was said by Karen towards Shannon.
Police filmed the moment Shannon was reunited with her mother. We've been asked not to show it, but the family liaison officers who were present remember it well.
We got in there and Shannon came running to her mum, threw her arms around her. Karen almost shoved her off. She came to sit down on the settee with me, did Karen. And Shannon stood up and I said, Karen, go play with her. And I had to encourage her to be with her daughter. Karen was particularly cold and she had no interest in her.
She was putting her own coat on.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
Karen, and she was sitting there looking at the watch, looking at the clock.
She really was
And
boring,
even,
wasn't she?
and even suggesting, she was actually saying, you know, we'll be going soon.
She didn't want to be there. I think 10 minutes would have been enough for Karen.
Sympathy for Karen was running out. Examining the family computer, police arrested her boyfriend Craig Meehan for she found loading the child. He was later convicted. The mood changed on the estate, and rumours began that Karen wasn't as innocent as she'd made herself out to be. Two neighbours and Julie Bushby and sister began to doubt Karen.
The reason I got suspicious, main thing I got suspicious about, police had mentioned them doing a family tree. Now, when Shannon was found and they announced who she was found with, Karen got questioned on this by me and Julie. Now, she turned around and told us that she didn't have any knowledge of who we were.
The two friends didn't believe her, and with the help of Christine, set out to confront her.
I raised my suspicions with Julie, she raised hers with me. And we kind of said, there's something wrong. We need to get together, we need to meet up with Karen, and we need to question her on these things. I was supposed to be one of her close friends, even though she denies ever knowing me now. So Julie arranged through Christine for us to meet up with Karen. We got into the car, and it was basically, hi, how are you doing? And it was kind of awkward. You could cut the atmosphere with a knife.
We started off just chatting, and Natalie had said to Karen, look, you know, I've been your friend for a lot of years, I've welcomed you into my house, and, you know, I'm always going to be your friend, no matter what you tell me. Friendship doesn't just end when somebody either makes a mistake or tells a lie. Natalie talked about all sorts of different things. Karen's reactions and how it just didn't feel right to her. And she suggested that she was hiding something.
I says, I said, you and Craig have gone through a bad patch yet again. I says, you've had enough. I says, you've packed back, thought, right, I'll leave him. I've had enough. I'll go away for a few days, let him pack his stuff, get rid of him, and then I'll come back and everything will be fine.
Natalie had put it to her that because she wanted to leave Craig, she'd latched on to Donovan, that he'd offered her somewhere to stay with the children, and that she'd actually agreed with him that he would pick up Shannon from school. And then the plan was that Karen would go home, tell Craig she was leaving, collect the other children, and go to Donovan's.
And she turned around and she went, yeah, it's true. And me and Julie looked at each other and went, what's true? And she went, what you said? I said, no. I said, you tell me how it happened. I said, we need to hear it from you, how it happened for you.
And at that point, I can't tell you, I can't describe what that moment was like. Karen took the biggest intake of breath I've ever known anybody take and just said, yes, it's true, and started sobbing.
Now this wasn't the tears that everyone's been seeing for months. You know, the eyes welling up and Karen rubbing her eyes and making them red. This was Karen, tears rolling down her face, Karen shaking, petrified that something bad was going to happen to her now, that she revealed the truth. Me and Julie gave her a big cuddle and turned around and said to her, you've done it brilliantly. You finally got the truth out. It must have been a huge relief off your shoulders.
And I can remember Karen actually, without looking at my notes, but I can remember Karen saying, everybody's going to hate me now. And all three of us said, nobody's going to hate you, but the truth needs to come out. That's the most important thing.
Although Karen's version of events would constantly change, she has finally admitted she knew that Shannon wasn't really missing, but that was as far as she was prepared to go. She sticks to the story that she asked Donovan to take Shannon because she wanted to move away from Craig. Though this doesn't, of course, explain why she dialed 999 and reported her missing.
It's fucking madness.
We're not here to trip you up or trap you in a way. What we're here for is a good bit of honest truth from you, right? And I'm not. Listen.
Take Shannon for a while, but.
Say that again.
I just asked him to take Shannon for a little while.
Right, well, tell me what happened with that one.
In case of I needed help.
Right.
I just didn't know how to tell Craig, so I just found the way to do it.
Well, explain that to me. Explain that to me.
I just wanted to know how to get him out of my life.
Get what you like.
Craig, because I didn't love him anymore. It's the way of treating me and the kids.
Right.
I just didn't want nothing to do with him, so that's my husband's advice.
There's lots of stuff come out of that.
Yeah, but it was she's never going to come across a lot more now.
After years of experience interviewing suspects, DC John Lee was brought in to question Karen during 8 interviews after her arrest.
Like Craig said, she just proved herself to be a liar. Right. And she's admitted it, admitted it. Karen was in a difficult position. She'd obviously lied for 6 weeks to us, to the press, to her family, to her friends. And you do have a bit of sympathy for people who are in this situation. Karen is quite a clever lady. She doesn't come across all the time to be that. She's quite calculated and she knew exactly what she was doing and exactly what she was saying. And at last on these interviews, she was giving her version of events, which are the truthful version of events at last.
Karen told police that the day before Shannon went missing, he saw Donovan in his car on the Dewsbury Moor estate. He stopped